Hey, Ed here from Precision Gun Reviews, and we're back again with another holster review. This time we're looking at the Bianchi Model 58 PI holster. It's an outside-the-waistband leather pancake style holster designed for carry rearward of the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions because it is designed with an aggressive forward cant, further forward than the traditional FBI cant designed for closer to 3 o'clock carry. On the table today we have two of this holster in two different colors, obviously, designed for two different firearms. We have the Smith & Wesson J-frame model for J-frames with a 2-inch barrel. This is a 442 in here. And on the right side we have the Smith & Wesson M&P compact, but it is a slide holster, meaning that if we just remove that, we have an open end, so this will hold any M&P. That's unloaded. And it'll hold any M&P from the full size down to the compact, presuming it's not the 45, although it might hold the 45. This holster actually tends to hold a lot of firearms fairly decently, and it won't hold the shield, obviously, because the shield is much thinner. And might as well take a look at this one just to ease your minds. There you go, another unloaded firearm. The Bianchi PI Model 58 holster is it's a great little holster. It rides high on the belt, which is something I like for an outside the waistband holster because it helps aid in the concealment. Obviously, outside the waistband you have to rely on your top garment covering the muzzle. So these guns, because they're canted so far forward, it raises this muzzle up a little bit closer to the belt. And you could see that it's only a couple of, maybe 2 inches below the belt on the back. And that's really helpful for making sure it's concealed and not having to worry about it. They hold very tightly to the body, being pancake holsters. It's a function of the design. When they're pulled tightly, it's cinched to the body, and they're very comfortable, obviously, because nothing's between your belt and between your waistband and your body. And these particular holsters have a very rigid design, more rigid than a lot of leather. I don't know if you consider that a good thing or a bad thing. I like the idea that the guns fit in there very well without the holster deforming. Specifically, the J-frame one is very rigid. It has almost a sharp feeling to it. Now, one might say that that's a sign of lower quality leather, and I've tried other holsters. You saw the Ross leather pancake holster, which was a very, very high quality leather with the suede-like interior. This has a much rougher interior. It's smooth. It's just like the outside, but it's not designed to carry the gun very luxuriously in there. However, like kydex, which is also rigid and smooth, that is better for keeping moisture away from the weapon and not trapping small particles of dirt or sand or something that could abrade the finish on your firearm. And this particular one, the one for the J-frame, has a nice low cut here so that you're not getting the back of your cylinder ever caught on a lip of the leather, which you might see in some other holsters. You're able to get a full grip on it. On the back there's plenty cut out with the trigger still being covered to be able to get your hand in there, so that's really nice. The one for semi-autos, in this case the Smith & Wesson M&P compact, is a very tight fit. It has, again, a very slick sort of interior. It's a rigid leather. It keeps its shape very well, which many people who have been carrying leather for a long time know that if you break in a leather holster too much, or if the leather itself is too soft for too long, it won't retain its shape, and it'll be difficult if you ever need to reholster, and it could even become loose and lose retention for that holster. And for that gun, which is never a good thing, to lose retention. So these, they're formed to the outside of the gun. Here you can see, if I were to pull that out, you can even see inside, I don't know if you can see actually, but there is an indent here, or a protrusion here, where the chamber would be. So there is some like additional retention at the points, just like you would find on kydex. It's formed to the gun, so that's a really nice feature. It makes this holster very good when it comes to outside the waistband leather holsters for retention. As for the quality of workmanship, these are, I guess I'll tell you, they're made in Mexico. The stitching, it's not the best stitching I've ever seen. There are a few little kind of rough points around there, around the edge. Like here, it goes a little bit tighter to the edge, whereas here it's a little bit further, and you've got some of the extra stitching around there. But that's not something that I would consider a deal breaker for using this holster. And like I said before, this particular one, this semi-auto one for the M&P Compact, it holds all sizes of the M&P Compact, but if I wanted to, I could throw my 1911 in here, and as long as I'm not running around, it'll hold it just fine. You could throw an XD in here, it'll accept it. It won't be the perfect fit, but as you can see, the perfect fit is absolutely rock solidly tight, more so than you would ever really need if you're just carrying it at the range or something. So it's nice that it's versatile and you have an extra holster that can do many things. I don't know if you watch Hickok 45's videos, but you see him a lot of times with his old Don Hume, and he's like, yeah, I just throw everything in there. Whatever it is, it all seems to fit. Well, that's kind of like what this Bianchi PI is like. Now, the main attraction to this holster, the reason people would buy this, is because of the aggressive cant. And now, if you're like me and you carry on the belt, outside the waistband, or inside the waistband, you carry a little bit behind your 3 o'clock position, and the more the gun is tilted forward, the easier it is to draw it out as you get further and further back. Now, I wouldn't say this is a small of back carry, because small of back would be more like that, with this pointing upward. This is somewhere between small of back, which is dangerous anyway. If you fall on it, you could injure your spine. But somewhere between small of back and 3 o'clock carry, and for that it draws really well. Like you see here that it's hard to pull out, but when it's attached to your belt, it comes out very nicely, and it holds the gun very well. And to be able to draw from that position at this particular angle is very convenient for someone who likes to carry that way. Now, there is a problem with this holster, and that is particularly if you have a dedicated and purposefully built gun belt like this one here from the Beltman. This is a 1.5 inch belt, and this holster is cut for 1.5 inch belts, and there are no other options for it. So carrying this holster with a gun belt can be a difficult proposition, and I'll show you why. I've measured this at exactly 1.5 inches, and my belt is 1.5 inches. So pushing the belt through is a bit of a chore. It fits, and that's fine. Let me just not catch that on the tripod. So it fits. However, it fits as if it were going straight out of this hole. Now, because all holsters have their holes for the belt cut at an angle, math, geometry dictates that they need to be a little bit longer because they won't really be the right size when they're at an angle. So you put your belt in, and it has to do this weird curve thing to go through the two holes. Now if I pull it flat, you'd find that it'll fit flatter, but it'll still have this strange curve in it because it's got to straighten out to go through this hole. And that's the case with any gun belt that's designed to be thick and rigid and still be a 1.5 inch belt. Now these holsters, they fit perfectly fine with something like my belt from Walmart or a dress belt, because at an angle there's enough width here to accommodate them. But for my gun belt, I find that I'm not likely to use these holsters because they just make the belt fit funny on my body and through the holster, which is a shame. And it's a shame that they only offer it in this one size, because otherwise I would suggest if you have a 1.25 inch belt that's a gun belt, this 1.5 inch size is perfect. But for a 1.5 inch size gun belt, you would want a 1.75 inch cutout on the holster, and that's kind of a shame, because otherwise these are fantastic holsters. So discounting that one potential fact, if you have a belt that isn't going to make these holsters ride properly, that's a problem. But if you don't have that, then they're great holsters and definitely recommended for outside the waistband carry, specifically behind the 3 o'clock position toward the rear of the body. Other than that, one thing I failed to mention is that this particular one, just like the M&P compact model is designed to be very versatile, this J-frame model has a little bit of extra space on my 442 because the 442 has a 1 7/8 inch barrel, whereas the 357 Magnum models of Smith & Wesson J-frames have a 2 1/4 or 2, maybe it's 2 inches even, barrel. So there's a little extra space there to accommodate the front of the muzzle on the slightly longer J-frame barrels, which is great to know. If you're only ever carrying a 38 special, then this little tiny bit is going to be that much more that you have to cover with your shirt that you didn't really have to have. But if you have a 357, you know that the tip of the gun is very safe and protected. Now, I really love these holsters. I would recommend them. I may even modify the edge here, cut out a little bit, just pull out my pocket knife and add a little bit of space here, because you can see, even though they're tight on the edges here, there's a little bit of space there that you can work with it and you can fix it to your liking. Same thing, not so much on this, but here you can. But if this one's going straight across, it can hit a longer hole here and it'll all work out pretty well. Anyway, so that's the Bianchi 58 PI holster, outside the waistband leather. I like it. However, you're going to run into problems with the custom gun belts that so many of you, I'm sure, wear. Other than that, if you're just wearing a regular belt or a dress belt especially, carry on, because these are great for the purposes of carrying a gun. For the purposes of fitting a belt, we've got some questions, but as long as you know that in advance and you know what you're getting into and you plan for it with a belt that will work with it, then I don't see any reason not to wear these. They are pretty great. And that's been the Bianchi Model 58 PI holster. This is Ed from Precision Gun Reviews. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like what you see here on the channel, and keep an eye out for more reviews coming soon. Until next time, stay safe.